say things like, oh, if we're talking about the optimal Blue Eyes build versus the optimal Dark Lords build, and they both draw their best hand and they build their best board, I don't see how even the best hand of Blue Eyes can beat this strategy. And I'm just like, the only way you're saying that is if you have no idea how stupid Blue Eyes actually can be.
Right. Right.
Because like even like back with like when Desperado first came out, this is when we were running Snipe Hunter. And like Snipe Hunter by itself just like completely erases that deck. Because it's like they have like let's say they have like their effect monster. You could like have let's say you have like just like this interaction right here. You discard a Blue Eyes, you pop the monster on the field, they summon the Desperado.
Hmm.
Then you discard a stone, and then you pop the Desperado. And let's just say we're really crazy here. We assume they have a second Desperado. They summon the other Desperado.
Hmm.
Then you can activate the stone in the graveyard and re-add the Blue Eyes back to your hand
Right.
and discard it again to pop the Desperado. And it's like you've only used two cards out well technically three because you have to summon the Snipe Hunter, but it's like you've only discarded two cards out of your hand to be able to go through a monster and two Desperados. And if you've gotten rid of the Desperado, it's like the deck is significantly weaker without that because that's their win condition. Obviously, like now the deck has evolved and now like the best version of the deck now is like Desperado Parshath, and that doesn't really work anymore. But it's like in essentially every version of the meta that like Blue Eyes has played in, where Blue Eyes has been like a consistent threat, I feel like people always like undersell how stupid Blue Eyes can actually be
Yeah. No, I hear you.
because like because even something like Snipe Hunter, it's like don't get me wrong, it's like yes, it's inconsistent, but like the strategy is definitely inconsistent, but when it works, it's like it just beats everything because it's so stupid.
Right. No, exactly. That's the thing. Like, I feel like honestly, the biggest thing with is that we have hands down the highest attack in the entirety of the metagame. We have the highest attack, right? And just that alone allows us to just simply body some decks like Trimids. I can't remember the last time I lost a game against Trimids. It just doesn't happen. You know what I'm saying?
See, let me tell you why I lose games against Triamids.
Lost against
Because
Trimids.
let me tell you why. Let me tell you why. I set Stone, and then they activate King
Oh,
Golem,
I
and they summon three
yeah, yeah,
monsters,
yeah.
and they OTK
Okay,
me.
okay. That's probably the only way you can lose against Trimids.
That's the thing. Like that is the only way I
Right.
lose because it's like Spear Karibo doesn't work, Keeper doesn't work, Dawn Knight doesn't work. Like nothing works
That's
because they
true.
just negate
That's
everything.
true.
And it's like the
Um,
same thing with like Ancient Gears.
yeah,
It's like
honestly,
basically like
against that,
this is kind of why I like the Consonance engine because they can't do that if like turn one I put a Blue Eyes on the field because it's like you can't beat over the Blue Eyes, and then it's my turn and then you die.
that's true. That's true. But yeah, I would say definitely in terms of sheer card advantage, cards does have that. The only thing that the only thing that irks me is that we don't have a system where we can use like we don't have XCs right now. We don't have a lot of the extra deck cards that
For
makes
real, for real though, like that is something like because that's the main thing because it's like when it comes to like the things that made the TCG version of Blue Eyes
so
so
good, right?
strong is that like
You had
a lot of people don't really understand that it's not the matter of just getting like one card
right.
and then Blue Eyes will suddenly be as good. But it's like, no, it's because Blue Eyes had all of these things. It had access to things like Hope Harbinger Dragon. It had access to like all these like Galaxy Eye Synchro Ixies monsters. And then you have like Trade In. You have Trade In and Return of the Dragon Lord. That combined with Alternative, it just like creates
Right.
a deck that's like offensive capabilities are just like stupid, like absolutely stupid going second. And it's like it's at the point where it's like even now, modern day Yu-Gi-Oh, modern day 2019 Yu-Gi-Oh against a lot of decks, I can play go second OTK with Blue Eyes using like the same kind of strategy because of the fact that it's like just the nature of how much removal and how much offensive capability that it has is like if unless your opponent builds a board with like five negates, they just die because it's like, oh, you negated this removal effect. Well, how about this one? How about this one? How about this one? And then you have like 9 removal effects, and
Right.
it's like you're just not negating all
Right. And honestly,
that.
like one big thing that we had that we no longer have access to is like number one is the Spirit Dragon, and number two is the
Yeah,
Crystal Wing. Crystal Wing,
yeah.
big part of the TCG because that's literally a spell negate. Imagine if we had Crystal Wing and we built that turn one. What the fuck is a spell book again? Like you would not.
So interesting thing about that is like with Crystal Wing, even if you don't get Crystal Wing, you still have a lot of the Ixies cards like what's it called? Hope Harbinger Dragon. So Hope
Yeah,
Harbinger
exactly.
Dragon,
That would
what
also
it
be a
does is
spell
it can
negate.
negate it.
Right.
Yeah. So it's like you have a spell negate, and then like another thing about Blue Eyes that makes it so ridiculous is how many monsters it can swarm to the field in a single turn. So it's like if you have something like Trade In, Return of the Dragon Lords, and then also like the Cosmo Brain engine, it's like you could do something like build Hope Harbinger and then also have Cosmo Brain, and then also like you can just build
Right.
so
You
much
can build
on
a
a
lot.
single turn.
Exactly. And I'd say that is the strength of Blue Eyes, something we don't have currently right now because we don't even have XZ.
Yeah,
Imagine if we had Dark Matter Drag, right? Honestly, I would say
yeah.
Dark Matter would probably be not as OP as TCG because you wouldn't have like the soul charge kind of effect and you have less.
Soul Charge is
Right. You
busted.
have.
It's so busted.
I
Also, another thing
prefer
I
the
think gets
TCG.
overlooked in using like the Return of the Dragons engine in Duel Links specifically is the fact that Return of the Dragon Lords is not a once per turn effect. So
Yeah.
unlike with Silver's Cry, if you
Right.
draw 2 of them, you can use it twice,
Exactly.
and it's like that's broke.
Honestly, I
That's
just think
super
like
broke.
just imagine if we had the entire engine like set right now in Duel Links, like we would
See, the thing
hands
about that
down.
though is that like I do agree that if we had everything in Duel Links, we would just undoubtedly be like it'd probably be a tier 0
Tier
deck.
zero.
Like I'm going to be honest,
Right.
but it's like I feel as though like there's too much that would need in order to do that, and that would like completely change the structure of Duel Links. I feel as though
Oh,
like
you think it wouldn't fit in the 2025
yeah, I feel as though
model?
it would be too much for Duel Links.
Honestly,
Like
I don't. Here's what I think. I think Blue Eyes would be like the first, like you know how like grass magnets work, right? It would be
yeah,
very similar to that. You would, you know how like one of my friends in the DLR Discord, she made this deck where it's like Cyber Dark, Blue Eyes on 30 cards, right? And I was like, you're crazy, like that's so fucking inconsistent. But think about how consistent our deck would be. We could still run 30 cards and be the only deck that would be consistent with 30 cards because we have 2 types of draw power. Not like
yeah,
right. You like instead of like the 2 measly pot of greeds that fucking Desperado has, we would have like 6. And
yeah.
literally we can just use that with like over and over again. We can mill cards from our deck. You wouldn't even need like half the cards that Desperado needs or half the cards that Dark Lord needs to pull off what we can pull off. You know what I'm saying?
And that's part of the reason why I feel as though like it would be too strong for Duel Links because of the fact that it's like Desperado is already like just having access to Pot of Greed the way they do was enough to make it like one of the most consistent decks in Duel Links. And then Dark Lords, they don't actually even have the +1 of Pot of Greed, where they have like a 0 Pot of Greed, where it's like they have X to draw 2 cards, and like with Banishment, because the thing is it's crazy to think about how like having draw power, how consistent a deck can be when it has access to draw power and a search effect.
That's true.
Because like with the Dark Lords, literally the only thing that changed about the Dark Lord deck is that they got banishment. That's literally
That's
it.
it. That's all we need.
Nothing else changed about the deck. So it's like when you look at it from that and look at like the current climate of Duel Links and how it functions, I feel as though like there are some cards that we could have added to the strategy to make us strong enough to be tier 1, but that wouldn't break the structure of the game, so to speak. Because like for example, like even like with the Chaos Max strategy, I feel like that skill definitely needs a buff because right now it's honestly useless. It's honestly useless and has like no real competitive value.
feel like just the chaos max strategy in general, not like even in the TCG, it's kind of like new bait. Like, do you know what I'm getting at? It's kind of like a casual
Yeah.
bait. Yeah, you don't really like no serious player actually runs the chaos max strategy.
Well, actually, hold on. Let me stop you there, because there definitely has been Chaos Max strategies that have topped at
Oh
events
no, I know. By all means,
in the
you're
TCG.
right. But I'm saying
Because like the thing about it in
chaos
Duel
max
Links is
strategy.
that like with it being having access to a 20 card deck and then also having access to things like light and dark, like because the thing about Chaos Max is it like so there's a lot of cards that are run in like Blue Eyes that are really good, but they suffer from what I like to call obelisk syndrome, where it's like the card is really, really good if you get it on the
Yeah,
field.
that's the
But it's
only
like
thing.
it's just too hard to get it on the field. And this is why like the ultimate dragon strategy doesn't work. Well, honestly, the reason why like Neo Ultimate doesn't work because of the fact that it's like you invest way too much to get it on the board,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's like you just better hope they don't have a floodgate
Right.
or like literally any back
Mm-hmm.
row. And because of the way the card works, it's like in order to get the most bang for your buck out of it, you have to either A, not have anything else on the field to be able to get the attack 3 times, or B, be using like the normal blue eye strategy. And at that point, why don't you just use the normal blue eye strategy?
Right.
And then it's like that's one of the issues I have with like the Chaos Max strategy and the alternative ultimate strat. Not alternative ultimate. If we had alternative ultimate, it'd be a whole different conversation. That card is something else. But like within Duel Links, I feel as though the issue with those two versions of the Blue Eye strategy is that like in order to make them competitive, you have to use the quote unquote normal Blue Eye strategy. And at that point, why don't you just run the normal Blue Eye strategy with alternative?
Right.
And it's like because that's just better. And like but yeah, it's like with like Chaos Max Dragon, it's like if you had access to like 3 copies of Chaos Max Dragon as a card,
Oh yeah, that would be broken.
it'd be too
It would
good.
be broken.
And it's like it would be too good. And it's like even with like maybe 1 copy of it as a card, with something like Light and Dark, it would still be stupid good.
That's because
Because you
of the
can
sheer
because
like
you
the way Duel Links is oriented. It's not a simple card game, right? It's not like dueling like,
yeah.
or like any other like online platform where you just be playing the card game. It has these
Yeah.
abilities that can increase consistency. That's like the thing why Ubel.
And then on top of that, you have like the 20 card deck.
Right, and the 20 card deck also makes it more likely for you to draw. But I think about like a deck like Ubel, right? Ubel is
Yeah.
absolute garbage in the actual game because
Yeah.
if you draw like sure if you draw Ubel and can destroy with the Fire King, that's good. But if you draw like let's say the evolve forms, they're literally dead cards in your hand, right? But with the skill,
Yeah.
you can trade in the evolve form and get the actual U-Bell from your deck. You know what I'm getting at?
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, all those cards just become like a banishment for U-Bell. You can use this to trade it back into your deck and add U-Bell to your hand. That's something that you basically can't do in real life unless the judge calls you out on cheating. But like you know what I'm saying, right? Like that's the thing. And I'm glad you brought up because I feel like that actually is one of the things that's inherent with all of our cards. Let's say like you guys remember Quarion, right? I talked about Quarion last season
Yeah.
and how everyone was like very OP. You know why I don't run it this season anymore?
Hmm.
One card fucking destroyed my Quarion. Like I completely just got discouraged from playing it. One card.
Is it Cockatoo?
It's not Cockatoo. Actually, this happened way before Cockatoo thing. It's
Oh,
what it's
snap.
something I started playing in Blue Eyes upon seeing it in other decks, making other decks really good, and I was like, holy fuck! If this card I was playing Quarion, because mind you, Quarion requires my entire hand. 4 cards.
Yeah.
And this
Because like you have to open the God
the
hand. You
God
have to
hand,
open
exactly.
Cosmopran, Blue
Right.
Eyes, and then
Protector
Protector, and then
right.
Atone.
But here's the thing though. Imagine this. Quarion's effect upon summoning allows you to banish. But what
Yeah.
effect allows you to negate that? What card allows you to negate that?
Parsha?
Parshath. And better yet, it
Oh,
doesn't
oh, and
destroy.
then
It doesn't destroy. So here's the thing, right? Like the thing with Quarion is in the past, this is also the reason why Crystron's is getting worse. Because Parshath is a thing. That's just simple.
Parsha. No, real talk. Because you remember like before I experimented with Blue Eyes Parshaft because it's like the Parshaft trap is like legitimately one of the most broken
It
things to
is. It
resolve
is.
in the
You can
game.
draw a Parshath, a counter trap, any other monster. You're set. You're golden. That is it. That
Like real talk, it's like if you activate Parshaft, like that's typically just game. You win. And it's like
It depends on the deck actually. Some decks can afford the Parshath. I would say
yeah, some decks can like survive getting Parshaft,
right. Like
but
I
it's
feel like
more so like
Spellbooks is one that you can like start baiting them.
yeah.
Yeah. But
Because the thing about Parshaft is that like if you negate the right card, it's like a lot of decks just like lose instantly because it's
right,
just
right. You're
it's just because it's like not because it just pretty much goes past like all the protection effects because it shuffles it back into the deck.
exactly. Like
And then it's like, so it's like if you had something like Deep Eyes, which triggers upon like your card getting destroyed, not only do you lose your card, but then you don't get to activate your Deep Eyes, you don't get to activate your Keeper, you don't get to activate like any cards that like have beneficial effects when they get
right,
destroyed.
exactly.
Like it completely kills Desperado. And then on top of that, like that alone is what makes the Parshaft trap so good.
Hmm.
But then on top of that, you have the other effect, which is what really pushes this card into broken territory, which is that they just summon Parshath.
Right. It brings
And
down
I'm just like,
Parshath, and imagine that. Let's say I do draw this down. I do have a thing,
yeah,
right? Normally against Desperado in the past, as an automatic win. No one was running
yeah,
Parshath, right? No Dark Lords, no nothing. No one was running Parshath. I would just summon it, bada bing bada boom, done, right? But here's the
yeah,
thing: with Parshath, they negate, and Quarion had that double layer to it too. It wasn't just something that they would, like reward you for all those cards invested. If it's destroyed, you can bring one of the banished monsters back. So let's say I banished like their Desperado, I can bring that onto my field. But now
yeah.
because it's a shuffle back into the deck rather than destruction, I don't get it. Actually, wait, let me check that one more time.
Check to see if it's removed from field
Yeah,
versus when it's
I
destroyed.
actually
I
did that.
believe it's destroyed.
Right. So if this single card summon card is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can target. Yeah. So this it's destruction. So yeah, you don't get to use this effect upon the Parshat. You know what I'm saying? Parshat, the one card destroys your entire. You lose a card advantage of 5 right there automatically. I don't care if your ancients still summons a blue eyes. It doesn't work anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like you're basically screwed. All they need now is
Yeah,
a way to destroy the blue eyes, and it's game. Twin barrel dragon, boom, done.
yeah, and it's like, ugh, ugh. And that's one of the things like I kind of like found as like a weakness of Cosmo is that like when you actually go through it Cosmo and then your combo gets stopped, you or like if your combo gets stopped and then like break your board, you have like nothing to fall back on
Mm-hmm.
because Cosmo itself like summoning Cosmo and then it getting negated by itself, that's like a really huge loss
Mm-hmm.
because it's like you lose out on the blue eyes you discarded, you lose out on your effect with Cosmo, and it'd be one thing if they just negated the effect and it still had the same attack points, but it's like if it gets negated or like stopped, or if it gets like Hanadia'd or negated or anything. And let me tell you what really tilts me about the Dark Lord matchup with this. So it's like when you negate Cosmo Brain, with Dark Lord negate, you gain 3,100. But when you negate Desire after it's used its effect, you gain 3,000. I'm just like, what is up with that?
Right. No, that's true because
That's not fair.
yeah, because the thing is that with it takes the amount of attack that you have originally.
But that's the thing. Cosmo's original attack is
100.
1,500.
Right. And that's the inherent
So it's
bonus, right? It takes.
And it's like no, but here's what I'm saying. Like with the Dark Lord interaction, so it's like if they're taking the original attack, then Dark Lord players should not gain
Oh
3100
no, they're
when
taking
they
the
negate
they're
Cosmo.
taking the attack that it has on board currently.
And if it's doing that, then they shouldn't gain 3000 when they negate their desire after it's used its effect.
Does it do that?
Yes, they gain 3000 and then it goes back up to 3000 attack. It's really
Really?
stupid. Yes, that
Whoa,
it's really stupid.
that makes no sense.
I know. So there's probably like some ruling thing that I'm just not aware of. It might be like the attack that it had when it got summoned or something, and that might be what it is.
It could be.
Because if it's that, then it makes sense. But it's like,
Sanctified Dark Lord.
actually, yeah. Let's just read the card. Actually, just read the card. Because if not, this might just actually be a bug. It might be a bug.
Gain LP equal to its attack.
Does it specify?
It doesn't. It technically you should not gain 3 if it uses effect already. Technically, you should.
Okay, so it doesn't specify
No,
like
the
original.
LP from its attack literally means like the attacker has.
Yeah. On the so that's the thing. It's like it shouldn't.
So
I don't
so
get it,
if
man.
desires goes down to like 2,000 from
2000. They should only gain 2000 then.
2,000. It should be 3,000.
What is? Whatever. Whatever. I'm just gonna be salty about this for a week and then I'll get over it.
But then again, I don't know why. Maybe it's my luck, but I haven't seen Dark Lords in like a while. I haven't played against a Dark Lords player in like a while.
See, the only reason why I know this interaction is because it's part of my strategy as Dark Lords. Because like I also have a Dark Lord deck.
Oh yeah.
And it's like that's part of the combo basically. You activate desire, you send their monster to the graveyard, then you negate the desire, you gain 3k life, then you beat down, then you OTK.
Right. Right. Exactly. That's how it should be. I play. Yeah, I saw Dark Lord. Like, wait, we have these cards. I have all these cards. I have 3 copies.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I really like about Dark Lords
Right.
is that like we have like legit because like in order to get Ancient Stone, I guarantee if you have 3 copies of Ancient Stone, you have like all the Dark Lord
Yeah.
cards.
Yeah. No. Definitely. I was like,
Oh
wait,
man.
I was like, Eggshell, I have 3 copies. Am I supposed to like? It's a super rare card, but everyone's like complaining they don't have it. And then I was like, okay, so I only missed banishment. Let me open that pack a couple of times, but then big my boop, I only opened like 50 packs and got all 3.
Oh man.
Yeah. I don't know.
Dark
I
Lords.
guess I.
You know what? What's another matchup? Because we've mainly been talking about like Invoke Neos, Dark Lords, and Desperado, and those are definitely like the most relevant decks that you're going to see in the meta. But it's like another deck that I would feel is also really relevant right now is Six Sams. Because the thing about Six Sams that as an archetype, I feel like you can't really get rid of Six Sams. Like I just feel
Too
like you can't.
versatile. You're right.
Because it's like even with because like okay, so here's the thing that I actually did like a couple months ago. So like one thing that I do every now and again is like I comment on like the Duel Links advertisement posts on Facebook and I talk to the people that comment on those. 90% of the players are like super casual, but like occasionally like you'll have people say like really like scrub quote worthy thing. It's like man, you should change Duel Links so that everyone is only allowed to have 1 copy of every card because Six Sams are too broken. And then I have to explain to them, like, if you did that, then Six Sams would undoubtedly be the best deck in the game because they wouldn't be affected by that, but every other deck would just get crippled by that.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, to actually show what I was talking about, I built a Six Sam deck that was only using 1 copy of each card, and then I think I like played against like Vendreads and like Desperado, and I still won because Six Sams are freaking stupid.
Right. No, you're right. Because that's just exams. Like, it's very hard for you to
It's like, but the thing about it though, it's like I don't really think it's a bad thing that you can't really kill six Sams because it's like I kind of like where they are in the meta right now, where they're
Yeah, no,
still really
I don't mind
good,
this thing.
but they're not like definite tier zero anymore, you know?
Right.
Because like
I agree too.
but right now it's like a lot of people overlook the six Sam matchup, and it's like they're like, oh yeah, the deck's dead because they don't have double Inishi, but like you typically don't need double Inishi because you don't need to draw the card
You
because they
don't
have a searcher.
exactly. Honestly, double
Yeah,
Anishi, you never. I can't remember a scenario. Maybe when you use Anishi to summon Shia in the first place, you might need to.
yeah,
But like, I've never
but it's like,
honestly never seen
yeah, and it's like that
double
never
Anishi.
happens.
You know, it's like you just need one.
Like typically what happens, because like right now, I think like limiting Inishi to one actually helped the deck because it like forced players to stop running double Inishi and run one copy. Then they found that this is actually optimal. Um, because like typically what you want to do if you're going first, obviously you summon Xian. But it's like if you can't summon Shia and you set the Fuma, and then when they swing into it, you summon Kizaru, which searches the Inishi from the deck. And because you have a Kizaru on the board now, you also can just summon the Inishi, and then Inishi is live. Or it's like, but basically, it's like that whole thing. And then even like going one turn, because like one of the things that I feel like really, really changed up the six Sam deck is when people started running X Saber Wayne in the deck. Like that really just like I feel as though that really shot the deck up to another level,
Mm,
along when people started playing like Dimensional Prison in the deck as well, and like all these like battle traps. Because typically the way you play around six Sams is like you see them summon one monster in attack mode, and then they set a back row. Like the obvious counterplay is you assume it's a dual wield because they only put one monster on the field, and then you're
it's a
like,
bluff.
okay, I'll
It's
just
a bluff.
summon one monster, yeah, and then it's like you assume, oh, they summon one monster. It's a duo will. I'll summon my one monster and I'll beat over their monster. But then you run into a dimensional prison and you lose because you only summon one monster.
Right.
And then the thing about it is that like that's a quote unquote bluff, but it's not really a bluff. It's just it's like it's kind of like a 50-50
Right.
where it's like it could be a dual wield, and if you summon more than one monster, then you get bounced and then you lose because you use your normal summon,
Right.
or like they bounced you like once you enter the battle phase and you lose because of that. Or it could be a dimensional prison, and if you play around the dual wield and it's a dimensional prison, you lose because of that. Or if you play around the dimensional prison and it's a dual wield, then you lose because of that. So it's like that's like something that makes the deck really good, but not like overpowered, because both these situations just lose to Cosmic Cyclone.
That's true.
So it's
Honestly,
like
that's the reason why I run Cosmos and my Lao.
Cosmic Cyclone is so good.
Cosmos Cyclone
Honestly, I would run more copies of it if I had more copies of it, but I only have one.
goes down more of the mini box selection mini box. I
I
fucking
didn't pull it. I didn't pull it.
I fucking opened the entire thing. I opened the entire box. 35 copies of it.
I have used, so you know how you can only get 10 packs with
Yeah,
gems? I've done all of them for each box.
you have? Wow.
Yeah.
I haven't done it for the mini yet, but it's just like I was so frustrated. I was trying to guess which one I got my last copy.
What did you
The
get?
very last pack was my Cosmic Cyclone.
I am happy for you because you are a fellow Blue Eyes player, but I am jealous of you because I don't have it. Like I think like with the selection boxes, the main things that I wanted were like
Sangan.
I wanted for yeah, obviously Sangan. Sangan's really good. I really wanted a second Spear Karibo. I really wanted the second Spear
Oh
Karibo.
yeah, why Sangan?
I wanted the second Spear Karibo. I wanted Forbidden Dress. I wanted the Sonic Bird. Like there were so many cards that I wanted. I ended up finally getting all of these. I was really happy about that. Um, I also got multiple copies of Red Eye Zombie Dragon, and that made me really happy because that's a card I really wanted. Um, I wanted that for my Red Eye strategy because basically with the Red Eye strategies that Red Eyes has trade in.
Mm-hmm.
but it's an archetype specific trade in, and it's like even better than trade in
Yeah.
because you discard. Yeah. So cards of the red stone is
Oh,
it's literally
right,
trade
right,
in.
yeah.
So it's like they discard red eyes and then they draw 2 cards, and then afterwards they can mill a red eyes from the deck. So it's even better than trade in.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like it's pretty dumb. And no, and then the crazy thing about that is that if we got Return of the Dragon Lords, but we didn't get trade in, I'm just gonna let you know now. I'm gonna play red eyes.
Uh,
Return of the Dragon Lords is stupid, man.
we don't have any
Because
of these fucking. God,
like literally,
God was. God,
just give me Return of the Dragon Lord. Just give me Return of the Dragon Lord so I can ditch Silver's Cry. Because like I'm gonna be real, it's like yeah, Silver's Cry is a quick play, but it's like when are we ever using it on our opponent's turn?
alright, turn on.
It's like yeah, there are situations where like being a quick play is really good. Specifically, one that comes to mind is when like you're entering the battle phase and you attack into them directly with like the Cosmo Brain, but you keep the Silver Scry in your hand so that when they activate the Drowning Mirror Force, then you Silver Scry,
Right,
and then you summon the Blue Eyes from the graveyard, and then you attack that way.
right.
But it's like that's like one specific niche, but then it's like Return of the Dragon Lords has that niche where it's like it's not a hard once per turn. It's not a hard once per turn, and then it also has that banish protection in the graveyard as well. So it's like it's really good.
Yeah, no, it's
Oh man,
good. Turn of the Dragon Lord.
this has been an hour and 16-minute long call where we were talking.
Yeah.
Well, I like at some point we just stopped talking about Consonance versus Cosmo and just started talking about Blue Eyes matchups.
Any other questions about it? Like, I'm not sure if I made it clear enough, but I there's a lot of similarities between the two cards, but as much as
So, because that's the thing, it's like I do feel as though like they have a lot of the same problems, and that's more so where it's like, because like my thoughts on the two builds in having like tested both of them very extensively is that like with Cosmo Brain as an engine, because here's the thing, I feel like we should run Cosmo Brain as a card, but that we shouldn't run it as an engine because like with the Cosmo Brain engine, you still have that very, very real risk of drawing your normal monsters. And because you're running so many of them, you're much more likely to draw into those normal monsters. And it's like
Arim,
any day of the week.
right
Hmm?
now, Cosmo Brain is the engine of Blue Eyes. That's basically it is like if there's a win con for Blue Eyes right now that we're playing on, it's Cosmo Brain has to be in order for
Yeah, and that's what one of the reasons why it's like I feel like you definitely should be playing it.
right.
Because it's like because like I remember like my first draft that I made like maybe a couple weeks ago of this current build. I was running like one Cosmo Brain and one Protector, and then eventually like I got just added. I tried 3 Cosmo Brains, and then I like broke it like finally dropped it down to 2, and that's what I'm running now. And I really like it because I consistently see Cosmo Brain, but I don't consistently see a bunch of normal monsters in my hand, and it's like that's great.
Yeah, no.
I love
There's
that.
definitely games I do not have them in my hand. I'm just like, bro.
It's like because with Cosmo Brain, it's like you always want to have the Cosmo Brain, but you never want the Blue Eyes monsters in your hand.
Right.
But like another niche about it, the consonant engine that I like about it is that like because you have stuff like Stone of Legend, you're adding the Blue Eyes to your hand from your deck off of Consonance effect, and then you also can draw into stuff from your deck, and then it's like because like when I talk about that like combo where I was saying like you know, you break through the Dark Lord boards and you OTK because of it, that's because of Cosmo Brain. You can't do that without Cosmo Brain. So it's like Cosmo Brain needs to be in the deck in order for that to work. But it's like I just really don't think the play is having a bunch of normal monsters in the deck. Because like I could even see like running 3 copies of Cosmo Brain still, but just like not running so many normal monsters. And I'm thinking like maybe what could happen with like the current like Cosmo Brain build is like because I had like an idea of maybe like running like Bingo Machine and like Melody in the deck as well. So it's like when you draw Cosmo Brain, you also have like a bunch of cards to make sure you have a Blue Eyes to use Cosmo Brain as well. And it's like, bleh.
I feel like that's a little like you really can't by optimizing that. You also increase your chance of breaking by what if you don't
Yeah.
draw Cosmo and you draw.
Yeah, and it's like that's the weird part about it. It's like
That's just I feel
that's
like
what that's
that's the inherent thing with you. Sometimes you have to optimize it to such a situation where you.
it's like you have to find that perfect balance.
That's the thing. There's a person with a noob deck, right? Absolute noob deck. I've seen people beat me in mirror matches with the weirdest decks in Blue Eye.
Yeah, because they just happen to draw the right hand.
I've seen like protectors, legends in it. I've seen weird shit, man. Like actual like weird mausoleum. A mausoleum is actually good sometimes if you have the right cards, right? Don't get me wrong.
Oh, I agree.
But
You want to know why I agree? Because I used to run Mausoleum.
the thing is like the thing why I feel like in the end I went crawling back to Dawn Knight is because it's a one card combo. One card has that much power to it. While it's not the
Hold on, I want to
nothing
see if I can. I want to see if I can find that one really stupid deck I played.
like if you have Dawn Knight on the field, like in your hand, you don't have to worry about any other card. You don't have to worry about having any. If you top deck it, it's not necessarily bad. It's like
Yeah.
imagine if you were like versing the Vagabond and you had that like you can only draw one card hand. You want that hand to be a Dawn Knight and not any other card or
No, no.
Ancients. You know?
Let me tell you something. If I, first of all, I don't know who in my friends list keeps sending me that freaking challenge, but whoever you are, if you end up watching this, I hate you. I hate you so much if you, because it's like it's the stupidest challenge. Because like literally, if I'm running that one card, that one card, that challenge, I'm not playing Blue Eyes. I'm not playing Blue Eyes. You know what deck I'm playing? Let me tell you the deck I'm playing. I'm playing triple Red Eyes Insight, triple Red Eyes Fusion, triple Neo's Fusion, triple Keeper. I'm playing the one card enablers,
Yeah.
okay?
And see, that's the thing.
It's like
One card enabler is just that good. Like, if you have a card that can chain into the other cards in your deck,
yeah,
that
and it's
card
just one card, and
itself.
that's part of the reason why like cards like Banishment are so
Right.
good.
So if you would ask me which card is better, Cosmo Brain or Dawn Knight, I would automatically say it's Dawn Knight. Dawn Knight is the better card. Even if you're.
And so an interesting thing about that like brings something up to my attention is like because remember how I mentioned earlier that like the Cosmo Brain engine takes more cards than the Consonance engine?
Yeah.
Could could the answer be to just run Dawn Knight in both?
You honestly
Because
running Dawn
because Dawn Knight,
consonants. I can't see a way that you can optimize it without cutting your engine in at least by one. Do you know what I'm saying?
okay, so like let me just look at my like the build I'm running right now to see like what I would theoretically cut for like 3 copies of Dawn Knight per se.
Arim,
To see like if this is something I would actually even want to
have
do.
you ever looked at what's it called? Dragoonides? Have you ever played against
Yeah.
Yeah. So Dragoonides
In Duel Links, no.
okay, so in Duel Links, there's a Dragoonides deck. It's not that complete, but there is a deck where like they run it. Dragoonides is absolutely rogue because they run very similar to what the Constance engine is. They have six.
Well, yeah, because they're like the only other deck that actually can use the Consonance engine.
Right. they have 6 tuners, and they use the Constance engine as a draw power. The problem with Dragoonie decks, from my friend's experience, is that like he says, it's because when you draw either or, right, either the consonants or the tuner, but not the other one, that's always the bad matchup. And that's the thing, like the bad hands just happen sometimes. You always have
Yeah,
either, you would have the tuner. Tuner is probably better than having the spell in hand because you actually have a monster to play. But
yeah.
do you know what I'm saying? It's like that's the like
And that's one of the reasons why like that's one of the like that's always been like the main argument when I was like compare the Cosmobrain engine to the Consonance engine
mm-hmm.
is that like if I draw a Blue Eyes without Cosmobrain, it's just a dead card in my
That's
hand.
true.
But if I draw a tuner without consonants, I can still set the tuner. And then at that point, it just turns into the standard Blue Eye strategy of, you set the monster. And then like another thing is like I do feel like we should actually start running Champions Vigilance because like just having a like a Omni negate like that is just like it's so powerful against so many decks because it's like
The one.
literally if I go first,
Mhm.
right, and I set vigilance and like let's assume that I activate cards of continents, right?
Mhm.
I discard the ancient stone. And this is something that like somebody brought up like oh the blue eyes is on the field with no protection. But it's like if I set
Uh-huh.
vigilance, I want the blue eyes on the field.
Right.
Because like in that situation, if like I can actually just like win immediately like against dark lords because like they might activate their banishment, they search their card, like they might search their ix, they might search their like they they'll search their card, and then let's just assume like optimal hands and stuff, right? So they'll search their card, they're going to discard the ix and the superbia, and then they're going to activate the Dark Lord Contact, and they're going to summon the Superbia. And keep in mind that because they activate the Banish, if they have another one in their hand, they can't activate it.
Right.
Because they've activated the Contact, they can't activate another one if they, have it.
Right.
So it's like after Superbia gets activated and it activates its effect to summon, you activate the Vigilance to negate the summon. And now they'd have no
Why
follow-up
can't you just
plays.
negate the contact?
Because if you negate it and they have another one, they can activate that. But if they activate because essentially you want to shut down them from not having any options whatsoever.
That's true.
Because if they use the contact and they summon Superbia, they can't use another contact for one. They can't copy the effect of it with Superbia, and then essentially like it just shuts down their play entirely. And now the only thing you have to beat through is just Superbia.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And because
Actually, wait,
like
no, you
on
don't
your
have to, right?
turn,
Because it negates the normal summon, or the summoning altogether.
you want to negate the summon of Ix.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Honestly,
You want to negate the summon of Ix.
Champions. I'd rather be able to gate and destroy
a monster effect than a summoning. It's like the reason why. This is the main reason why I don't Champions Vigilant. I like the card. I wish it was at 3 copies, but
Yeah, I don't know why it's at 1.
I mean, it's abusable. Like, to put it simply, like, since we like the level limit doesn't really take away the fact that having this monster like Red Eyes and Blue Eyes is not that hard to begin with on the field. Sure, it may have been
I
hard
know.
back in like 2017 when it.
I know, but like it's limited to 1.
Yeah, no,
But
you know what?
like
I don't agree with it, but like that's just how it is. Honestly,
but actually, okay, let me put it to you like this. I'd rather it be limited to 1 than be limited to 2. Because
yeah, because
it being
then
limited to 1
then
actually
would
has
run
some
into
niche.
clash with the econ and treasure.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it's like you want those as well, and like with it limited to 1, it's like yeah, you can only run 1 copy, but you can run it still. You still can run it alongside like your other tech
Right.
cards.
Right.
But it's like regardless of like how you would use it, it's like that's just still something that's like really powerful that we have access to that can like basically win the game if it goes off.
Right.
But
Right.
it's like there's basically so many things in Blue Eyes at a strategy that's just like if it gets to happen, then we just win. But it's like one, you have to draw it, and then two, it's like you better hope they don't have something to like stop you from doing it,
Right. Right.
because it's like with Champions Vigilance, it's like if you're playing against something like Parshaft, for example. Um, so one of the things I really like it in the Parshaft matchup, because it's like if they activate their Parshaft, I can Vigilance to negate negate it,
Mhm.
and it's like that's really good. But then sometimes they make you activate it first, and then it gets Parshaft, and then you're just like, oh well, GG's,
Right.
and it's so sad.
Well, yeah.
But
I think
honestly, I'm gonna be
with
real. Parshaft is
the
just
thing
Parshaft is just the dump
the
card.
thing with champions that I really just like have.
Yes, it's good if you're going first and you have a blue eye on the field. But what happens if they already set up their? It doesn't negate monster effects, so it's not like Desperado. If Desperado's on the field, then
But it's like
do you know what I'm saying?
the thing about that is like so like if they're going first, they're probably not going to have a Desperado on the field
That's true.
because of the
But
fact that
like Desperado's like okay, so let's say like let's say they have their Dark Lord, all
yeah.
their Dark Lords on the field.
Also, it should be noted that the important thing about it is that like it's not just negating a summon; it's a spell or
I
trap
know.
negate.
But like, think about it, right? Let's say Champion Vigilance, we use it against Dark Lords.
Yeah,
Automatically, sure. If you're going first, like let's say you had that hand and you negated that Ixchel, good on you, you got it.
yeah,
But let's say they went first and they broke their board, so you would use the banishment, you would use the contact. There's contact and banishment in the graveyard. Superbia
yeah.
and Ixchel's on the field. Ixchel can search out either Nastin or it can search out
Yeah,
desires. It can search out like basically like get desires.
we know how we know how broke it gets. We know how it gets stupid.
Oh, actually, wait. Let me think. Okay, so usually when they
Are you asking about the like optimal turn one board for Dark Lords?
no, the turn one board for Dark Lords usually like you would have like either a Nascent defense, or you would have like Ixchel like let's say they just have that. Let's say they just have Superbia and Ixchel. Ixchel uses its effect on their turn to get the banishment. Search out, let's say desires or something. Actually, no, not desires. They searched out.
No, you search the Tez. Tez.
Tez, really?
Search the Tez. Because
Honestly,
typically,
against
so like
Blue
if I'm talking about the optimal hand,
Yeah.
typically what you want, like the optimal board for Dark Lords turn one that you typically want to have is you want to have Superbia on the field, you want to have Ix on the field, you want to have a Sanctified set,
Yeah.
you want to have a Tez in the hand.
Okay.
The reason why you don't search for Sanctified on the opponent's turn is because the Sanctified is useless in the hand on your opponent's turn.
Agreed. So let's say, for example, if they don't have Sanct and Tez, let's say they're searching Sanct and setting that card.
Yeah.
Right? So let's say that happens. Now it's your turn, right? You would have basically the exact same as last time. Use your consonants, and you would set the card, set the Champion's Vigilance, right? On their
Yeah.
turn, they would basically they would use Ixchel. Champion's Vigilance would not activate to that, right? Champion's Vigilance will.
Also, it should be noted this is like we also have to assume that we're not able to like break through their board and like tear it apart on our turn, because like if we're going second, then that means we're attacking, and it's like
do you see where I'm coming from though? Like
yeah,
once this happens,
vigilance is like, so that's the thing with a lot of like
Right.
the situations about like you have to always consider what about when it doesn't work.
right?
But then it's like you have to ask yourself like how often does that actually happen? Because for one, you're running one copy of Vigilance, so it's honestly very rare to see the card in the first
That's
place.
true.
And it's like if you see it going second, you have to ask yourself, does that cripple the rest of the deck? And the reason why like it typically doesn't is because, like, again, like with something like the Cosmo engine where you only have 5 cards, and because of that, those 5 cards are just so much more important versus the Consonance engine where you have 8 cards, and it's like you don't even really need all 8.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like very often, because there's been a lot of times where it's like I have like my in my head my optimal hand that I want, my optimal 5 card hand, where I look at it and it's like I might not have had the hand, but then I activate consonants and I draw into like the one piece I was missing or like the other 2 pieces I was missing. And it's like this stuff doesn't happen very commonly, but the fact of the matter is that this is another layer of something that can happen. And it's like because of this, it's like but this is like it's like yeah, you can have situations where you just like have a completely useless hand where you just brick and then just nothing you have in your hand is usable. But that's not something that's just unique to the Consonance engine.
Right.
It's like that can happen in both decks because it's like, yeah, you're right. I could draw open 3 blue eyes white dragons and then 2 copies of Consonance and then I lose. But it's like in the you could also open like 5 blue eyes white dragons and then 2 silver's cry or like some combination of that, and it would be just as useless.
Right. Right. Yeah. No, I hear you.
And
I
so
hear you.
it's like
Mm-hmm.
it's like ultimately it's like I feel as though like both decks are really good and that like they both have a lot of power to them, but it's just like with the Consonance engine and why I feel it's better is because it's like comparatively when it comes to comparing those like those lowest points, there's not it's not so much that I feel like I don't really feel as though the Consonance engine is worse or that it can brick in more ways than the Cosmo engine. It's like I don't feel like it bricks like more. I feel like it bricks about the same. And like if we're looking at ratios and like the actual like math behind it, it's like it's actually the exact same chance to brick, but it's like when like both brick, there's a lot more quote unquote bricks in the Consonance engine that I can still win with
Mm-hmm.
because like very often like if I if I don't draw consonants, what that typically means is I basically just have the standard Cosmo Blue Eyes hand, and it's like what basically never happens is that I draw like 3 blue eyes because of the fact that I'm only running 3 blue eyes, and so typically like a lot of the duels where I don't draw consonants, I drew like Ancient Stone, Keeper, Silver's Cry, Econ, Tretch, Cosmo, etc., etc., etc. And then at that point, I'm just playing the Cosmo Blue Eyes build,
Yeah.
which is still good. But the difference is that like when it does work, when both decks work, the Consonance engine just has so much more offensive capability than like that. It's like the Cosmo Brain engine is just like because it's like you mentioned like with like things like Desperado and like all these other decks that just like go crazy on card advantage. It's like a lot of times it's like we just can't keep up. And it's like even with Invoke Neos, because even with the Consonant Sense, I don't feel like we win that matchup. Like, yeah, we can win games against it, but it's just like the only way we win the game against their best board is if we actually just straight up draw our best hand.
Mm-hmm.
That is like the only situation where we win in that like against that deck. And it's like you can't really rely on your opponent bricking all the time. Like that's just not consistent. And so it's like with Invoke Neos, I like straight up, I feel like we lose that matchup.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can win games against it, but I feel like we lose that matchup.
Yeah. I hear
Um,
you.
Against Dark Lords, I feel like we actually legitimately do go 50-50 against it because it's just like we had like at the very least in the the Dark Lords versus Blue Eyes matchup, we have a lot of the same strengths and weaknesses because we both have like big enough monsters and a lot of enough swarming potential that if you brick, the other deck is going to kill you immediately. And it's like with Dark Lords, 'cause a lot of people were like, "Oh, but Dark Lords never brick." That's said by someone who doesn't play Dark Lords.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
That's true. Dark Lords
like
breaks a lot.
because because the thing is like that's what a lot of people like when they say like, "Oh, that deck never bricks." that's somebody who didn't play the deck
Yeah.
because every deck can brick.
Bricks, yeah. As someone who never
And
played
like
Yu-Gi-Oh, honestly.
exactly, because it's like sometimes you just break, my guy. It's just
It
Yu-Gi-Oh.
just happened. Exactly.
And it's like they both have like monsters that are inherently big. So it's like, because the thing about Blue Eyes is that like Blue Eyes is just naturally going to be the biggest monster on the field.
Mm-hmm.
And the same and Dark Lords in a similar way have monsters that are bigger than everything else in the meta. And then one of the biggest things about Dark Lords is their effect negation, but good luck negating the big normal monster. And then it's like when it comes to like the general strategy is like they swarm the field with big monsters and then you just push through you with a bunch of offensive potential. And it's like it really is like it feels like such a coin flip matchup. It really does. It's like there are so many times where it's just like whoever went second, just GG's.
Right. No, I hear you. I hear you.
But then it's like Fortune Ladies. It's like Fortune Ladies is a matchup that I also feel like could be really hard, and it's like I feel like my perspective on that matchup is heavily skewed because I have Angel of Zera,
Mm-hmm.
like it is with like the Metaphys matchup. Because it's like the thing about um, Fortune Lady Every is how like you can't kill it basically. Like you basically can't kill it. So it's like if you don't OTK them, it's gonna come back, and then you can't stop the banish effect because it doesn't target. And so it's like that's really bad. But it's like if you have Angel of Zera, then it like comes back, and then like that's good. But it's like sometimes like after they use their banish effect, you just get OTK'd.
Mm-hmm.
And like and that's like with Angel of Zera. So it's like without Angel of Zera, it's like GG's. It's like you better hope you go second in OTK. Like that's basically the matchup. Um, what's another one? What's another common matchup that's really relevant right now?
So terrorists.
Subterrors? Subterrors. I actually don't like Subterrors because it's like it feels like the most RNG deck ever, where it's like if they open broken, you lose. Like if they go first and they open their stuff, you just lose because it's like they end up with like Flip Flop Frog, Uma, and Stygo, and then Final Battle, and it's like GG's. And it's like but it's like if they don't get Final Battle, then it becomes so easy to beat that deck. But it's like it's literally just did they draw Final Battle or not? Because if they didn't draw Final Battle, you win for free. But if they did draw Final Battle, like a lot of time they can just shut down everything you do before you get to do it. And it's like and then on top of that, here's one of the things that it's like it makes sense, but it still makes me salty. So it's like how with sub tears they can attack directly, and then it asks you, do you want to activate your Spear Karibo or your Wall of D or your Dimensional Prison or whatever? And then like because they're attacking with something like I don't know, like Nemesis Warrior, you say no. And then they activate Final Battle, and then Nemesis Warrior is 3K and you die. Like, ugh, I hate that so much, but it makes sense, but it's like I still hate it. Subterrors. What do you think about the Vendread matchup?
Hold up.
Boop boop. Oh boy. Time to I'm gonna check chat. Doop doop doop. Doop doop doop. Drop frames. It doesn't look like I've been skipping too much. Alright. Alrighty, so that's cool. Oh, I forgot to do that. Edit my mic so that what I'm saying matches up with everything else. Did you come back?
I'm back. What's up?
Oh, sup, man? It's your boy Darkslayer Arim. Oh,
Shut the fuck up. I'm talk. What were you talking about?
oh, Vendrettes.
I honestly never see. Like, I don't see them.
I feel like they just like fell off the face of the planet.
Vendras, if they get the God Hand, you can't do anything against. Honestly, you know,
Unless you have Angel of Zera. GG's.
you know what I'm talking about. It's like if they
Yeah, oh yeah. Where it's just like they can banish a back row, they can banish a
banish a
monster.
monster every
Yeah,
single fucking turn.
it's stupid.
If they have that and anything, I guess Angel and Zara could help, assuming you can get it on the board by the time
Yeah.
without like making the bad.
Like, okay, let's put it like this. In that matchup, they go first. They end up with like Executor, Executor with what's the Alex?
Executor.
Hey, he's a Pokemon to me.
Oh my god.
He's a Pokemon. But what was I saying? Oh, so what's the doggone? You know the Alexis skill with like Ritual Cage, I think it's called.
Yeah.
The one that says like they can't destroy your ritual monsters.
Mhm.
So it's like typically they have the executor, and then they have the ritual cage, and then they also have it, and then they also have it. It's a Pokemon, man. It's a Pokemon. No, like it's actually a Pokemon.
I know it's a Pokemon.
But basically, like you have that, and then they have the effect. They have the effect where you can banish a back row and a monster, and it's just like GG's. And it's like I actually have not tested it with the Continents engine, but it's like I feel like yeah, if they get that, it's just you lose.
Find Vendras to be a problem at all, to be honest.
Well, yeah, because they don't exist anymore. You know what I'm about to do? I'm about to just pull up the tier list real quick and see what's on the tier list right now. The Duel Links meta tier list. All right, are you ready? Are you ready to hear the tier? Oh my, I have not refreshed this page in a while. Before I hit the refresh button, I want to read the tier list right now. That's on my phone right now. Tier 1, Dark Lords and Desperado. Tier 2, Six Samurais and Spellbooks. I know. I haven't refreshed the page yet. Tier 3, Fortune Lady and Triamids. High Potential, Invoked, Neos, and Gravekeepers. Oh, man. Alright, now we hit the refresh button. Now we look at the actual tier list. So, Tier 1 is Dark Lords and Neos. Tier 2 is Desperado, Six Sams, and Spellbooks. Tier 3 is Fortune Lady and Triamids. Okay, so actually we should talk about the Spellbook matchup, because we haven't mentioned it, but we haven't really talked about it.
Mm-hmm. Spellbook?
Yeah.
From my perspective, using okay, so I personally think fuck, my mind's blanking. Oh, the alternative evolution is your training for the thing. All you do versus spellbooks is just play normally. Like you don't need lava golem, you don't need anything fancy. Make sure it cannot OTK you. Make sure you banish the back row. Honestly, if something I would tech against spellbooks would probably be Cosmic Cyclone. Maybe 3 copies of Cosmic Cyclone. You know, it's just like having that Cosmic Cyclone allows you to get rid of the banishment without you even like getting
Putting a monster on the field and putting it at risk. Yeah.
Monsters. So yeah, I would definitely get that out of the way. I would also I'm pretty sure one of the 2 monsters you can econ take, right? Or you can't take econ. You can't. No, never mind. You can't econ take any. So
you can't econ take because Silent Magician just like negates it, and then the level 8.
That's honestly it. You destroy the banishment, pop it twice.
Yeah.
If they have another monster, hopefully they have another monster. I would probably run in that case one lava golem just to like wait for bait them out. I would run Vermilion Mech Dragon, and
I mean that let's be real, that's a staple. You can't run Blue Eyes and not have
yeah,
Vermilion Dragon
yeah, no, no,
deck.
no,
Like,
obviously, like get Vermilion on the field. Try to get the double pops off. Once you get the pops off, it's useless. Their deck is useless. You know what I'm talking
yeah,
about? Like
because like you just OTK.
that's the thing. Like Silent Magician, like that's the entire deck in a nutshell. Spell negate plus the banishment. If you get rid of both of that, it's done. It's over for them. You know what I'm saying? It's over for them. They don't have anything to use against you. So I just feel like that's like the best thing about versing spell. I'd say it's a 50-50, honestly, most of the time. Um
Yeah.
Against Trimids, you have to look against Trimids. Trimids is super easy. Um
Yeah, you just gotta hope you don't go first.
right. Fortune ladies, same thing applies. I would say for fortune ladies though, definitely their back row is more of your concern than is the monster. I get fortune lady every
Cosmic Cyclone,
yeah,
baby.
I get fortune lady every can make your life a living hell, but honestly,
But that's only if you don't OTK,
right.
which is
So what
what
I
the
would
deck is
do
built
is
to do.
actually against every I would run Cosmic Cyclone, definitely.
Honestly, I'm feeling like our side deck just needs to be like Lava Golem and
Right.
Cosmic
Lava
Cyclones.
Golem, Cosmic Cyclone. I'm thinking, oh, there is one thing you can tech against spellbooks. You could tech Treacherous as like a
This is
swap
fair.
for Econ. I've seen people use Treacherous against it. It actually works pretty well. Um,
Yeah.
you know what I'm talking about? It's like Treacherous,
Yeah.
their
I've definitely done it.
Treacherous Silent Magician or another monster they have after they attack Stone. Stone goes in. Another Silent Magician level blah 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 level 8 comes up. All you do is get the blue eyes, right? Or use Dragon Spirit White, banish the back row. It's gonna target your Dragon Spirit. Then use Dragon
Hmm.
Spirit's effect to float into because since it targets, that's the only monster it can use it on. So it cannot target your blue eyes anymore.
Yeah.
So you float into blue eyes. You pop with alternative, and then Cosmo boom game. You know what I'm saying? Something like that. If you can get
Yeah.
like that hand right. Um,
Uh,
that's why I also run like one copy of Silver's Cry. I feel like some of these decks you would really see like Silver's Cry being a great asset.
Silver's Cry is like it's another one of our tech options that's just like it's like you don't want to draw a bunch of it, but you still want to have access to it.
Right. I will honestly, I wouldn't tech Silver's Cry. I feel like Silver's Cry, we have like one copy is fine, two copies is fine too. Honestly, I would say like whatever your deck goes into, that should be the amount of Silver's Cry you run. If that makes sense. Like me personally, I just like I've seen too many times where like I ran a quote unquote engine changer in my side deck, and that just like completely backfired on me when like
And it just broke the
right
deck, yeah.
exactly. So you technically want to like have cards that like can account for all of them for a lot of scenarios. Cosmic Cyclone is like that card where you can account for spellbooks, you can account for Trimids, you can account for Six Sands.
It's such a
Right, you
versatile
can account
like
for
general
Dark
card.
Lords or Neos. Like it's endless. You know what I'm saying? Like even if they use Sanctify Dark Lord's effect, that card is still banished and they only negate their own monster. Just think about that. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
You
actually,
only
that kind of
pop
like
them.
interaction that I want to like talk about in the Blue Eyes matchup with like so this was like one of the things where it's like I opened an even more broken board. So it's basically that board I talked about earlier where they have like a set Sanctify, they have Ix to graveyard copy, they have Superbia, they have Tez in the hand, then they have a Uko back to send to the graveyard for Sanctify, but then they also have a Sanctified in the graveyard already. So they have three negates basically.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like basically what ended up happening was like you summon Dragon Spirit of White, you target the set Sanctified, and they activate X to copy the Sanctified in the graveyard to negate the Dragon Spirit, but then you tribute the Dragon Spirit to summon a Blue Eyes, and now they can't negate the Dragon Spirit's effect. So it's like the Sanctified on the field gets banished, and then the one that was in the graveyard gets shuffled back into the deck, so they just lose both negates, like right off of that one effect.
Right, like that.
And
That's
then
just the crazy thing. We already have the banishment effect of Dragon Spirit of White. What's to say we cannot have like Cosmic Cyclone? Like that's not a dead card.
yeah,
If anything, you can
like
get rid of
it's really not a dead card because like it's so good because like even being able to do things like set the Cosmic Cyclone,
Right.
and then they go through their play, and then at the end of their turn you Cosmic Cyclone their card that they just set on the board.
Honestly, I feel like there should be like for any of us like I know I do this, but I don't know if like people in our server can like consistently do this well. I have a deck for like my side deck and my current like use deck that I can actually go into any matchup and be like, okay, I'm gonna replace these 3 cards or these 4 cards, put in these cards, and that's the optimal deck to play against said deck. You know what I'm saying?
So you use a side deck too?
I use a side deck. I just think like how like people like sometimes like to think like I'm like, oh, you have to like what should I take out to put this stuff in? What should I take out? Like some things you can think about is okay, well if the effect of Cosmic Cyclone is banishing a back row, you can trade 1 Dragon Spirit of White for 2 Cosmic Cyclones, and that would technically still maintain the level of back row control. You know, in fact, it would be better. And having that on its own, like obviously, I didn't replace both, but you can take out like let's say take out the Silver Scry. Like you know that matchup wouldn't really require you to use the Silver Scry. You already have the recycle option with the Ancients, right? You need the option, then you would just take out Silver Scry. Like that's the normal thing to do. You know what I'm saying? Against the Desperado, I don't even run Sphere Kaiba because I know for a fact like you cannot OTK me. I've never seen OTK. You cannot OTK. You know, like you're not that type of deck. So no Sphere.
I mean,
you know what I'm saying? Like comments, shit like that. Like I just do it like second nature. But sometimes like I see people struggling with it, so like I want to help them. Like a lot of it is just building a simple side deck. That's like you gotta know like that's like simple skills. Can't.
It's like them Yu-Gi-Oh fundamentals, man.
And honestly, like in the past, there was this one tech card, System Shutdown. I think like System Overload, like something like that, banishes.
Oh yeah, the card that like banishes all machines. And then like we were teching like Share the Pain and stuff too.
I've been thinking about that. Yeah, it's that. I think his name is Raul or someone like.
Raul Torres, the one who just he made top 8 on Duel Links.
I get that,
and like his side deck.
Yeah, I get that he ran 1 copy of the system, but honestly, at that point, I don't see how it's worth it. You know what I'm saying? I would just much rather like I know for a fact most Desperado decks coming into the tournament is running Parshat. Why don't I just negate the Parshat first? And that way, I'm forcing them to use the Parshat before I use anything else. Does that make sense? It's like Cosmic Cyclone just seems like a better tech in all these scenarios than the System Shutdown, which is only geared towards 1 deck. And if you're not facing that 1 deck, you won your cards.
Then it's useless.
So like if Rahul was here to like have this conversation, I would be like, my guy, like I don't know what you're thinking. He might have like a actually the legitimate reason. Hey, all for him, But it's just like.
Yo. So just real quick, we must rejoice because I just got Shadow Imprisoning Mirror.
My guy, good job. See, okay, I see.
I finally got it.
That's a viable one of card. I would probably run Shadow Imprisoning Mirror as like my last tech triple. 2 Cosmic Cyclones, 2 Cosmic Cyclones, 3 fucking Lava Golems, and maybe 1 Shadow Imprisoning. Boom, right there. Or no, maybe broke. 1 Treacherous. Add 1 Treacherous, take out Lava Golem. You know, something like that is a great side deck. Treacherous for versing against, like, say, like, spellbooks. Let's say you have
Yeah.
lava golem for versing Neos, Dark Lords. You have Shadow imprisoning also for versing Dark Lords. You probably like you can literally replace 6 cards like lava golem, lava golem. Would you need keeper? Probably. Take out blue eyes. You don't need that many blue eyes. You know what I'm saying? Like alternative.
You definitely don't need 5 blue eyes.
Exactly. Take out a dragon spirit. That's fine. You can still have 3 dragons and pull your strategy off. Heck, take out a Dawn Knight if you need to make it even like you know what I'm saying? It's like simple stuff like that. But yeah, like honestly, like that's just deck building skills.
Yep.
Yeah. Take out an econ if you have to. You know what I'm saying? Like stuff like that.
Oh my gosh. How dare you utter such blasphemy?
Yeah. How dare you take out? Think about it. Like.
How dare you take out econ? That's against the rules. Econ is.
How often are you going to be willing to trade? Like the places where I can think of using econ against Dark Lords is if I'm running Protector. If I'm not running Protector and I'm just set passing, it makes no sense for me to trade in, right? Bring their eggshell or whatever thing that has a highest attack onto my side, destroy their Dark Lord, because all they can do is search up banishment, destroy my blue eyes, and I'm done. That's game right there.
Well, actually, no, because here's what you do in that scenario. You econ take, and then you tribute their monster with Cosmo.
Okay, right. But then I find that as a little more situational than say.
It is. It definitely is. And that's why I only run. That's only you run like 1 to 2. But then it's like with Lava Golem. Like Lava Golem is just it's so good.
It's so good. I'm telling you, versing like Dark Lords, having 2, even 3 is fine.
Because the thing is, they always have
2,
like.
You know what I'm saying? Like.
Yeah.
Unless their hand is super bad, like, and they just put a nasty.
But that's the thing. It's like at that point you just OTK them anyway.
Right. You just OTK them. You just pop alternative. Boom, boom, done. You win. Right.
Yeah.
And they're forced to either throw out the Nastin to sanctify you, or like throw out a card. Either way, they're losing card advantage by doing that. So.
Yeah. All right. So. This call has lasted for 2 hours.
2 hours. That's way too long. All right, I'm gonna go to sleep now.
Oh wait, what time is it where you are?
It's 9 o'clock, but I have class tomorrow.
Oh dang, man.
Yeah.
Must be nice.
Yo, I think it should be a federal felony to have class on Columbus Day, a very important holiday in this country's history.
Oh man, I can totally relate to being in school because I definitely didn't graduate like 8 years ago. Ha ha ha! You have homework. Ha ha ha!
Yeah, that sucks. But I go to Chicago. I only take 3 classes, so it's okay. It's chill. We're going on a quarter system basis, so it's super chill.
Oh man. Well, you go to bed. You have class tomorrow. Mm-hmm. I have my very important appointment tomorrow that will determine my future.
Good luck with that, my guy.
Yeah. Well, anyway. Yes. Have a good night, Seto.
Good night, Arim. See you.
Boop boop.
Peace.
And peace out to everyone who tuned in to this Blue Eyes Cosmo consonants matchup discussion, Jesus. Whatever this ended up being.
That's so gay. All right, goodbye.
Bye. Bye, everyone watching too.